Have you ever found yourself inexplicably drawn to someone, despite knowing they've hurt you before, only to rationalize it by telling yourself that this time will be different? This unconscious willingness to repeat painful patterns is often rooted in a desperate craving for validation, a deep-seated need to feel wanted and loved enough to justify overlooking the warning signs. I've seen it in my own life, in the friends I've stayed in toxic relationships with, and in the strangers who seem to be constantly drawn to the people who hurt them the most. In this video, we're going to dive deeper into the 5 insidious patterns of attraction that humans use to manipulate love, loyalty, and power, and shed light on the secret emotions that drive us to make choices that ultimately destroy us. When we reveal our vulnerability to others, it's often not out of a genuine need for connection, but rather as a calculated move to elicit an emotional response from them, a way to test their worthiness of our trust. We're drawn to people who can see past our masks and acknowledge our insecurities. But this desire for validation can quickly tip into a need for control, as we demand reassurance that our vulnerabilities won't be used against us. The allure of vulnerability is actually a clever ploy to create an emotional dependency on the other person, a way to keep them invested in our lives, even if it means sacrificing our own autonomy in the process. In reality, our vulnerabilities are just a reflection of our ego's fear of being rejected or abandoned, a primal instinct to ensure our survival by securing a loyal attachment. We're prone to self-deception when it comes to vulnerability, often convincing ourselves that we're seeking deep emotional connection, when in reality we're just trying to alleviate our own feelings of inadequacy. Ultimately, the true test of love and loyalty lies not in how easily someone can tap into our vulnerabilities, but in how well they can support us in our moments of strength and resilience, free from emotional manipulation or control. When we wear the mask of innocence, what hides beneath is often a deep-seated need for control and validation. Passive-aggressive behavior is rooted in the fear of rejection and the insecurity that comes with it, a desperate cry for attention in a world that's too often too quiet. At its core, passive aggression is a coping mechanism, a way to express our true emotions without risking rejection or ridicule. It's a carefully crafted facade of niceness, hiding the bitter truth that we're desperate for validation, for someone to love and accept us, flaws and all. But the problem with the mask of innocence is that it's a fragile, easily shattered illusion, one that crumbles the moment we're met with resistance or rejection, leaving us exposed and vulnerable to the truth we're not as harmless as we seem. By embracing our shadow and confronting our underlying insecurities, we can shatter the mask of innocence and find a more authentic path to true love, loyalty, and power. In these emotionally abusive relationships, we often find ourselves caught in the double bind, a toxic dynamic where the more we give in to another's demands, the more they push for even more control. Behind the mask of love and affection, the true intention is often one of control and manipulation, exploiting our deep-seated insecurities for power. We may genuinely believe we're in love, but our attachment to the relationship is often rooted in a desperate need for validation and acceptance, rather than a genuine connection. When we feel trapped in this cycle of manipulation, it's not about being good enough, it's about recognizing that our emotional labor is being exploited, and that we deserve so much more than someone who makes us feel like we're walking on eggshells. In these double binds, we're forced to choose between sacrificing our own needs and desires, or risking the wrath of someone who demands absolute loyalty, often at the cost of our own emotional well-being. When you receive a compliment, take a moment to consider what's really being said often beneath the surface. People use flattery as a means to subtly manipulate and gain control, rather than genuinely celebrating your success. Notice how some individuals use backhanded praise to deflect attention from their own inadequacies and insecurities, creating a facade of self-assurance while actually craving validation. Pay attention to the tone and body language when you receive an overly flattering comment. A lingering gaze or a condescending smile can reveal the true motives behind the words. Many people use affection as a means to subtly gain leverage and power, often disguising their intentions beneath a mask of love or admiration. This can manifest as possessiveness, jealousy, or constant need for attention. When we give someone power over our self-worth, we inadvertently surrender control to their opinions and validation. This is precisely why flattery can be so destructive, as it slowly erodes our confidence and independence. Ultimately, the true value of flattery lies not in the compliment itself, but in the emotions it taps into: fear, insecurity, and an insatiable need for validation. And it's only by being aware of these underlying emotions that we can develop the inner strength to resist its manipulative pull. When it comes to self-deception, we tend to hide behind the mask of self-protection, rationalizing our destructive patterns as a means to safeguard our fragile ego. The underlying truth is, we use abusive patterns to validate our own insecurities, feeding a cycle of fear that perpetuates a toxic relationship between our deepest fears and our greatest desires. We often find ourselves drawn to individuals who reflect our own shadow selves, a twisted attraction that allows us to momentarily confront and alleviate our own insecurities. In the depths of our minds, we perpetuate a narrative that convinces us of our own infallibility, a narrative that shields us from the harsh reality of our own vulnerabilities. This self-deception manifests as a desperate cry for validation, driving us to cling to relationships that systematically drain our energy, erode our self-worth, and reinforce our darkest fears. Ultimately, our capacity for self-deception enables us to deceive not only others, but also ourselves, blinding us to the subtle yet insidious patterns that govern our attraction to toxic relationships and abusive behavior. As we've explored the 5 insidious patterns of attraction, I urge you to acknowledge how these subtle dynamics can influence your relationships and the world around you. Take a moment to comment below with your observations and insights. How have you seen these patterns play out in your own life, or in the lives of those you care about? Stay informed and equipped to navigate the complexities of human emotions by subscribing to our channel for more in-depth looks at the psychology of love, loyalty, and power.